I'll call to order the Yreka City Council meeting for August 15th, our closed session at 5:30. Any public comment? Nobody in the audience, no public comment online. All right, I'll close public comment. Can you get our microphones? Okay, great. Okay, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome everybody to the Yreka City Council regular session for August 15th, 2023. Thanks for being patient for our late start here at 6:38. And we have no reportable action on our closed session. Okay, this is special presentations and or announcements. This time slot is for informational presentations, appointments, and awards to be presented by the City Council or to the City Council. 2022 McKinney Fire, a progress report 1 year later. And this is from our city manager, Mr. Ledbetter. Mr. Ledbetter, good evening.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yreka City Council. This is Jason Ledbetter, the city manager for the city of Yreka. We thought it would be an excellent opportunity to revisit a reflective over the last year based off of what staff has been working on moving forward after the McKinney Fire incident. And so thank you to Assistant Manager Retta Hogan for all her work on this presentation and all the work that has actually been done in regard to hazard mitigation here over the last year. So if you can move on to the next slide, please. So first, before we get started, I just want to remind the council, when I first came on here about a year and a half ago, a little over than a year and a half, you guys have assembled a relatively new staff. We have people in new roles. We have Miss Hogan, who was the finance director, now serving as the assistant city manager. We had a different council at that point, and coming in, working with staff, working with the council, talking to the public, we kind of created internally some goals for ourselves. And so the 4 goals that we talked about were fiscal resiliency. We talked about housing and how we could approach the unhoused situation here in town. We talked about water security. And so we've worked on updating fees. We've worked on development impact fee updates. We have the 218 coming, which is the rates for water and wastewater. We passed a housing element. We have master developers now under memorandums of understanding. We have possible market rate housing interest we're working with an individual on. We're supportive of the county efforts with the shelter and a possible pallet shelter. We're still working on the home key project. We're working on our water permit. We have a number of water and wastewater projects, including the Davis well, the emergency filter at the Greenhorn Reservoir. And finally, we have the 4th element here that we've been working on, and that is hazard mitigation, specifically fire danger. So when we look back at the McKinney fire roughly a year ago, I'm sure we can all remember that Saturday morning. I certainly can. What stands out is that this fire moved so rapidly fast, 50,000 acres in a day and a half. And that speed of travel is frightening, and I think is what had everybody completely frightened. I went to bed Friday evening, woke up to multiple text messages because this thing exploded, and at that point had pretty much taken out Klamath River, and now all of a sudden the city of Yreka was in danger. 185 structures, over 60,000 acres ended up burning. 12 injuries to 12 injured firefighters, and unfortunately 4 civilian deaths. We had evacuation orders, I believe, for the first time in this community. A third of the community was evacuated down to Weed. We had the just wild weather that was created from this fire, created its own weather pattern. If you did stay in town, you saw enormous hailstorms, You saw massive rain that led to really ridiculous flooding and danger for the fire community back behind the ridge line. And I can remember waking up Saturday morning to a very frightening column just over this ridge that I still say is a miracle that this thing did not collapse and spread fire throughout the community, similar to what we saw in other communities, but at a rate of travel that would have been, I would assume, similar to what just transpired in Maui. And so we were lucky that that dissipated. So next slide. But the risk obviously continues. We've seen the Alameda fire, which I think that we're at the highest risk for, a grass fire that would come through Yreka Creek, right down the vein of our community and be very devastating. We've seen what happened to Paradise, and now, unfortunately, we're seeing the aftermath of Lahaina. The story just continues to play out over and over all around the world, and I still contest that our biggest fear is the grass fire along that would then enter into Yreka Creek. These are very devastating for communities because it takes a long time to rebuild communities. And as an example, the population before the campfire was just over 26,000 in Paradise. It's now down to 4,600 people. And now approximately, or it went down to 4,600 and now it's at approximately just over 6,000. There were 86 fatalities in the campfire. Over 18,000 homes were destroyed. And so the aftermath now is that as of 8/10 of this year, only 2,042 new homes have been built and only 428 multifamily units have been rebuilt. And so the speed at which we can rebuild our community is playing out over and over after these hazards, and it's very, very slow. So that's very frightening for us. We're the county seat. We have a number of key agencies that call Yreka home. A fire in our community could be very devastating for population and the rebuilding of our community. Next slide. So how do we mitigate? Well, first of all, we have strategic partnerships. First and foremost, CAL FIRE, very active with CAL FIRE. If you've been to Greenhorn Park recently, they have adopted that park. They're doing all the maintenance for us over there when it comes down to felling the trees. They're also working with us on our grant partnerships. We've run by our OES grant application through CAL FIRE and the Fire Safe Council. And also, obviously, the CAL FIRE grant that we did just receive, we worked with our local agency here, Daryl Laws, and before that, Phil Anzo, to make sure that we're competitive and that we're doing things that the fire community wants us to do as well. And then during that emergency, CAL FIRE did not have to comply with a lot of local or a lot of state laws, and they were able to build all these fire breaks that we see within our community. So that's a really big win for us. And they continue to knock down those dead trees at Greenhorn, which unfortunately we're seeing a lot of dead trees at Greenhorn. We have a good relationship with the Fire Safety Council. George Jennings and Jay Perkins, Chief Lemos and Council Member Davis attend those monthly meetings. And when we get the resiliency officer position filled, that person will start to attend those meetings as well. We also work with them on mutual support for applications, getting information, and Jay Perkins has mapped out within the city, I believe 8 to 12 locations that really we need to hit hard with mastication and limbing projects, which our chief resiliency officer will be working on when they start as well. We have the ad hoc fire committee that was initiated by city council, ideas for solving kind of our issues to build a fire hall and possibly entertain paid staff are being discussed at those meetings, as well as a litany of other items. Councilmember Kaag and Councilmember McCoy are participating in those meetings. County OES, we certainly have an opportunity to work with them and possibly bolster our relationship there. I wish it was better, but ultimately they will be doing the hazard mitigation planning. They had us sign a letter of support to go after grant funding. They do an overarching hazard mitigation plan that would include all of the cities within Siskiyou County. And so our new OES resiliency officer position would also be collaborating with the county OES. And then we'd like to see at some point, we have multiple fire chiefs throughout the area, all the different agencies, Weed, Mount Shasta. There's an opportunity there maybe to work with the different chiefs and see if we can't have a regional approach to some things. We've already talked internally about the possibility of having a fire marshal on contract, very similar to how we have a building inspector on contract, where we would share that person with the different cities. Next slide, please. So one of the major issues that we're dealing with really on how to mitigate this risk is how do we become fiscally resilient to address the fire department? And so we've talked a little bit briefly in meetings about a public safety initiative because we believe it's no longer sustainable model to operate a full complement of volunteers to run a fire department. And we're seeing that nationally. We're seeing volunteerism on all levels, whether it be at the Elks or at the Rotary or at Collier Rest Center. We're seeing just limited ability for people to volunteer at the same level that they used to. We did work with the city council and had you approve a consultant to come on board, NBS, and we did the initial polling on the survey on a sales tax measure. We engaged the consultant, we did the preliminary polling. And we're talking about development of possible ballot language and some fact sheets for voters if the city council in the future does choose to vote on a ballot initiative moving forward. But just interesting return already on this information is that, as we assumed, not our city is not fully aware that it is a volunteer fire department. So there is an opportunity with the polling data on what we need to educate the public on. And one of those items is that a lot of folks don't realize that the person responding to the house fire, the person responding to a slip and fall, the person responding to Narcan is not getting an hourly rate wage. Next slide, please. So what we have been able to do is evaluate grant opportunities and impact fees. You guys, thank you very much. The city council did approve fire mitigation fees in 2023. What does that mean? It means that we won't pay for the growth that happens. It means the growth that does happen will be paid by those growing or developing lots, and money will be then set aside to the fire department. We talked about here earlier, I talked about this opportunity for fire marshal contracting. And so we're investigating that opportunity. And I know that there's different cities in the I-5 corridor that would like to join us in that. And we're researching right now, Assistant City Manager Yreka is researching what we call these CRC grants, these Strategic Growth Council grants. And this would be for public safety power shutoffs. They call them PSPS zones. We're not currently in one, but I do fear that at some point we could be put into one. And especially right now with this weather, what that means is Pacific Power would shut off power to the city of Yreka or certain zones. They do it a lot in the Weed area where there's high winds. And that could happen when it's 101 degrees outside. And we have people in our community that will need a place to congregate to stay cool. Otherwise, they may end up having some health concerns. And so what we're looking at is the ability to improve our community theater, our community center, and possibly the chambers to utilize these locations to house people, whether it be too cold or whether it be too warm, just average folks that don't have a place to be because power has been shut off at their home and they need to stay warm or they need to stay cool. And so there's opportunity abound for improvements to these sites, hundreds of millions of dollars available. And so we're actively pursuing those opportunities. Next slide. So this city council approved the grant application about a year ago, I believe, for the Jumpstart Cal OES grant. We did receive that grant. I think we have some finalization later on this agenda tonight. It's just under $1 million. So this is something that the city has done. Thank you again, Ms. Hogan. This supports 5 years of a position. This is very uncommon. You normally get grant funding to do projects and you rarely get grant funding to hire staff. And so for us, this is a huge opportunity because the whole work plan for this individual is a litany of information within the grant application of all the different grants and all the different functions that this person will be performing over the 5 years that they're here. And they will be seeking home hardening grants. They will be seeking grants to do mastication on private and public property. Think of Butcher Hill doing mastication projects up there, Deer Creek, Outson Road. And they will be working on a number of different hazard mitigation, not just fire related. We have the flood hazard reduction grant. They'll be working with the planning director, if we can get them here early enough, on the safety element of the general plan as well. Next slide. And then we went after a CAL FIRE grant and received just under $1 million there as well. The primary function here is the disposal of fuel. And so we certainly offer to get a burn permit in the community, but some people aren't comfortable burning. And so we will have an opportunity for free to pick up people's woody yard debris, bring that down to the public works yard and safely burn it, and even be able to burn it under instances like today, because it's not an open burn, it's a contained burn. And so this is another huge win for the community and for the city to get basically $2 million over the last 2 weeks for fire mitigation. Next slide. And then obviously before I came on board, the city council approved a CDBG grant for $250,000 that they did receive. We're currently working through that. It includes site selection for a new fire hall and then covers a percentage of design of this new fire station. We're still in the site selection phase, and we hope to be bringing you an engineer design contract for you to hopefully approve so we can start moving forward with this project. Next slide. So we have obviously the Jumpstart, what I'm calling the resiliency officer work plan. That's a huge work plan. We're currently flying the position. Hopefully we'll be able to bring someone on very shortly. And then they will work partnering with the Fire Safe Council, CAL FIRE, state and county OES, the Forest Service, Bureau of Land Management, et cetera, in working that strategic plan. We need to roll out the air curtain burner for woody material. That's going to take some effort and some training, utilizing this new equipment and setting up the city in quadrants on when we go pick up woody material from people and what that woody material needs to look like in order to burn it. We're also entertaining funding for a new Yreka Fire Department fire hall and some paid Yreka Fire Department staff. So we did some polling over the last week for a proposed sales tax initiative. We have an educational campaign, or a need for an educational campaign, coming here over the next, I would say, 15 months before the November 2024 election. And staff will be bringing this city council a ballot tax initiative to be voted on by city council, where we more than likely will be asking for a 1% sales tax to fund some of these items. Our priorities at the moment are a new fire hall, paid fire staff, an aggressive grant strategy with our new resiliency officer for cleaning public and private property and doing home hardening programs, rolling out the new fire curtain for free removal of woody debris here in Yreka for the public. And then probably the biggest priority for me and the city staff at the moment over the next 15 months is a ballot initiative to finally bring the resources needed for a new state-of-the-art fire hall and some level of paid staff to alleviate the medical calls that make up 85% of our fire calls. That's all I got, folks.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Ledbetter. A lot of information, yeah. Okay. Okay, this is item number 6. This is public comments. Public participation is welcomed and invited at all city council meetings. This time is set aside for residents to address the city council on all matters listed on the consent agenda, as well as other items not included on the regular agenda. If your comments concern an item noted on the regular agenda, please address the council when that item is open for public comment. The city requests that the persons addressing the Yreka City Council refrain from making personal, slanderous, profane, or disruptive remarks. Council members, when recognized by the mayor, may ask clarifying questions of the presenter, but no action may be taken by the Yreka City Council during the public comment section of the meeting. Under the Brown Act, the City Council is prohibited from discussing or taking action on any item not listed on the posted agenda. This time is set aside for residents to address the City Council on matters listed on the consent agenda, as well as other items not included on the agenda. If your comments concern an item listed under the public hearing or new business sections of the agenda, please address the City Council when that item is open for public comment. Please speak into the microphone from the podium. The podium electronically adjusts up and down to accommodate the speaker. Please state your name for the record prior to providing your comments. Please address the council as a whole. If you have documents to present, please provide a minimum of 7 copies. These become public record. Please limit your remarks to 5 minutes. Since the council is unable to take action on issues not on the agenda, your matter may be referred to staff for follow-up or placed on a future agenda. Public comment period is not intended to be a question and answer period or conversations with the city council or city staff. Do you have any public comment at this time? Come on up to the podium.
Lorenzo Love. I want to talk about traffic safety. The streets here were laid out, many of the streets were laid out in the 1800s. The traffic signage, I don't think most of it's been changed in the last half century. Some of the intersections here are dangerous. I understand there was another accident on Minor and Oregon last week. Accidents continue to happen on Oregon and Bruce. You know, we have bigger cars now, goes faster cars. It's the traffic signage is not adequate for modern conditions. It's particularly bad on Minor and Oregon, where you have to pull out into the street in order to see around the corner because the sight lines are so bad. Now, there's easy fixes for this. 4-way stops. 4-way stops at Oregon and Minor, Bruce and Oregon. There may be other places too where there's serious problems. Maine and Oberlin has a lot of problems. Maybe some rumble strips on Oberlin to slow people down, keep them from coming in there and running the green light, running the red light. But you need to have a new plan, a traffic study to figure out what are you going to do before people die. You just can't continue to ignore this problem. You have to do something about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lowe. Any other public comments?
I'm Maria Autry. Okay, I almost got ran over today, and so did Max. We were trying to cross, we started in the crosswalk, and right at the courthouse, and someone is looking down the road going 40, they didn't even pay attention, and I know they were going 40 or 50. They certainly weren't going 30 or 20, and I had to scream and jump, pull back Max and myself out of the way, and the woman gets through the crosswalk and, oh, I'm sorry. We really need slow down signs. There was 3 highway patrol vehicles right there. Did not slow anyone down. 4th Street is becoming a freeway. Had someone hit the dip down there by Cherry, flew, because my friend lives right there, flew to the next street. We need slow down signs, please.
Thank you, Don Marie. Any other public comments at this time? Any public comments online, Retta? All right, thank you. All right, I will close public comment at this time. We'll go to item number 7. This is the consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are considered routine and non-controversial and will be enacted by one motion unless any member of the council wishes to remove any item for discussion. A, approval, ratification of payments issued from July 24th, 2023 through August 4th, 2023. Approval of minutes of regular meeting held August 1st, 2023. The recommended city council action is the motion to adopt the consent agenda of the city council of the city of Yreka as presented. What are the wishes of the council? Councilman Kaeg?
So move.
I have a motion from Councilman Kaeg.
I'll second the motion.
I have a second from Councilman Baker. I'll do roll call. Councilman Kaeg?
Aye.
Councilman Davis?
Aye.
Councilman Baker?
Yes,
Councilman Pro Tem McCoy?
Aye.
And I. Motion passes 5-0. All right, thank you. And this is number 8, new business. This is for City Manager Jason Ledbetter. Item A, this is titled special event known as the Yreka Night of Lights. Sarah, I'm gonna butcher her name, sorry. Everett,
Yeah, Ebrins, I believe.
Everett, Director of Discover Siskiyou, has submitted a request for temporary street closures for the special event known as the Yreka Night of Lights scheduled for Saturday, December 2nd, 2023. Mr. Ledbetter.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Yreka City Council. This is Jason Ledbetter, the city manager for the city of Yreka. I will be joined this evening in person by Heather Dodds, who manages Discover Siskiyou, and Sarah Ebrins, who I believe is online. If you'll recall, the city council itemized 3 events for me at some point last year as city events, Night of Lights, Gold Rush Days, and the Holiday Parade. And so I worked with Sarah and Heather via Discover Siskiyou to work out a plan for them to help us facilitate these events and actually grow them, in my opinion, even larger and more magical than the past. And so they are here again this evening, doing their due diligence and planning ahead. They have been working with us over the last few months, but we are now in front of you to make the formal request for the Yreka Night of Lights. And just so it is clear, this would be another $10,000 cash contribution that then Discover Siskiyou would go leverage to turn this into a $30,000 event, as they did last year, and very successful, in my opinion. They would also be advocating for the closure of the street, which is the in-kind, I guess, $750 to shut the street down. And so I will turn it over at this point to Sarah and Heather to answer questions by the council.
Great, thank you, Jason. I'm Heather Dodds, Program Director for Discover Siskiyou, and this is my colleague Sarah online. We did have some statistics from last year's event prepared for you if you're interested in hearing them before I hand it over to Sarah with some specifics about this year's event. If you'd like to hear those, okay. So we use a program, it's called Placer, that tracks people via their cell phone. And so we can kind of single out a geographic area. So we singled out Minor Street for the hours of last year's event. And we were able to draw data that told us there were 4,200 unique visitors at last year's Night of Lights, which was an increase of 150% over last year's event. So we definitely saw more people. About 20% of those were from out of town. We saw people from Eugene, Red Bluff, Crescent City, Roseburg, quite a few from Oregon. That worked out to around 1,000 people there at that event, quite a few of whom, according to our data, stayed in local hotels, which that is always our goal as Discover Siskiyou, because we are funded by those lodging properties. And then we're able to kind of work backward and come up with an economic impact, knowing that folks tend to spend about $20 per person at events like this between, you know, buying food, shopping in our local stores. And so that equates to around $84,000 for an event of this size. So we thought that was kind of cool. And I can hand it over to Sarah to talk a little bit about the street closures she's requesting and some ideas she has for this year's events.
Good evening, Sarah.
hi, everyone.
Yeah, as Heather mentioned, we got a lot of positive feedback and data from last year. So this year we want to take that momentum and hopefully grow and expand the event. The street closure we're looking for has already been approved, or it has been gone through Public Works, and I'm working with them on the street closure map that has been approved for previous events, Minor and Broadway streets. And just some of the fun parts we're pursuing to bring in some new entertainment elements to the event. Carolers, market lighting, snow machines if we don't have the luxury of having real snow, live music. We're looking into a bluegrass and a Celtic entertainment group, Frosty the Snowman, Santa, other holiday themed characters, a flash mob or dance performance, some lighting effects. The Yreka light up letters were really popular last year, so we're looking into bringing those back. Bringing in some Christmas trees, building some type of an enchanted Christmas tree area to walk through and take photos, and providing power to all of these elements throughout the event perimeter, as well as food and beverage. And then I guess basically the overall takeaway and the goals, we really want to encourage additional community involvement. And this year, having the luxury of a bit longer planning process, we want to get more organizations, businesses, and local groups involved in the event itself. So that's what I have.
Great, thank you. I will open up to council for questions or comments and then I'll go to public comment.
Let's start off then.
Okay, Mr. K,
I just,
Councilman K.
I just think, yeah, I like seeing all these great ideas, especially the snow machines. That's a lot easier to do than what I did back in the day and had snow trucked in from Mount Shasta from all my buddies with dump trucks. So the snow machine is a lot easier to do, to bring in snow, but the kids loved it. In any case, kids really love the snow, having the snow element there. It was a huge success on that part of it. So all these other ideas look great. I love it. So thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Councilman K. Any other council members? Questions or comments? Councilman Baker?
Thank you so much, Mayor Middleton. I really enjoyed last year's event. It was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to this year's event. And I just want to bring up right now, though, that Mr. Ledbetter did refer to this as a city event, and I would really appreciate consideration to make city events dry events. I'm not sure what the process is. We would need to go through that, but I'm going to put that out on the table again. That's what I would like to see. And then I also would love to see this event happen the same day as the holiday parade. That's right after Thanksgiving, so you have a lot of people in town, a lot of family members, a lot of people visiting. The streets are already closed for the parade, so it could just be an extension of the parade and just make it a huge celebration, day-long celebration into the evening. But that's not for the organizers to decide themselves. I'm just throwing that out to the council. I appreciate all of the work that you guys put into this event last year. It truly was a lot of fun. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Baker. No. Council Davis, any questions or comments for the event? Predator?
Actually, I'm a little unclear about the finances here. Can you go over that for me a little bit, Mr. Ledbetter?
Yeah, in the past, the city council entered into an agreement with the Chamber of Commerce, a contract agreement for a specified dollar value where a certain amount of that money was supposed to be used on 3 different events. And my understanding would be that it would be roughly around $5,500 to do this event. And so in this instance, Discover Siskiyou is driven by what they call T-bid, which is similar to transient occupancy tax. This is a tax paid by a traveler staying in a motel or hotel in Yreka. A percentage of that money goes to Discover Siskiyou because the motel owners voted to tax themselves, and they want to drive more travelers into the community, thereby having more rooms booked at a higher clip. And so what we're doing is we're saying, instead of donating $5,500 just because of inflation and things that have happened in the past, if we donate $10,000 to Discover Siskiyou, they'll turn around and they will match $20,000 to that 10, thereby making it a $30,000 event. And they can drive a more interesting event that will have regional pull, thereby fulfilling their mission, which is to have more people stay at motels in Yreka, or for them, Siskiyou County as a whole.
And the $750 I heard out there, I'm not exactly sure I understand that.
Oh, okay, that's a good question. You'll see that consistently on these events. And so ultimately what we've come up with is just some little quick and dirty math behind the scenes, that every time we do a road closure, we have Public Works having to more than likely work overtime or an off day, right? Like a Saturday, to shut the road down and then to come back and reopen the road. And so we have roughly $750 of cost to make that happen. And so what they're advocating and what other folks have advocated for in the past, I think with the holiday parade as well, is to waive those fees and to allow that road closure to happen as kind of an in-kind offering from the city. So you can almost look at roughly $10,000 going literally to Discover Siskiyou, and then $750 that would not be charged, that we would then internally pay for. You'll notice in your budget that we've added a lot of money to the council fund to deal with community organizations, I think, and then possibly a chamber contract. We set aside a large amount of money that you guys can then work with as people come and make requests to you. And so what we would do in this instance, rather than having Public Works just eat that charge, we would then compensate Public Works out of the council fund and pay Public Works back for shutting the road down, which we're assuming costs roughly $750.
That sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Davis. Just a comment from me, as I did attend the event last year as well, and as everybody, the ones who did, it was a great event. What I read and heard from the community is comments like Yreka outdid themselves, the best event they've seen downtown in a long time for the holiday. I think it's mixed. I'm not sure. Going back to your comment earlier, a lot of people want to see the holiday spirit spread out instead of having the parade on one day, Night of Lights all run together. They liked it on different days to for merchants, but that's what I heard around town, is a lot of people did not like it on the same day. But it was a great event. I was so impressed, and so was a lot of the citizens that I know attended and read from the comments. So thank you guys, and thank you for coming back and wanting to do it again this year for the city. And yeah, let's go. Thank you. So I'll open it up to no other comments or questions from the council. I will go to the public if they have any public comments or questions for the event known as the Yreka Night of Lights 2023. Okay, no public comment. So the recommended city council action in front of you is the motion to adopt resolution 23-32 approving street closures and other requests for the special event known as the Yreka Night of Lights 2023. What are the wishes of the council?
So moved.
Councilman Kaeg, I have a motion by Councilman Kaeg. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
I have a second from Councilman Baker. I will take roll call. Councilman Kaeg,
Aye.
Councilman Davis,
Aye.
Councilman Baker,
Yes.
Councilman Pro Tem McCoy,
Aye.
and I will, Mayor Middleton. Was I? Motion passes 5-0. Congratulations. Thank you again. All right, let's see here, item 9, or letter B. This is the special event known as Kids Block Party. Chris Taylor, on behalf of the Art Among Us, has submitted the attached request for permission to close a portion of West Minor, Broadway, and adjacent streets on Saturday, September 9th, 2023, from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. for a special event known as Kids Block Party 2023. Mr. Ledbetter?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yreka City Council, Jason Ledbetter, the city manager for the city of Yreka. So I am here before you this evening, joined by Chris Taylor, the owner of Serendipity Shop, that is, on Minor Street. And she has done a multitude of events in the past, and she is here for the Kids Block Party 2023 that would be taking place on September 9, 2023. This also happens to be the same day that later on in the evening, somebody else here from Liberty Arts, who will be coming up next, will be requesting a street closure as well. And so what we've done here is that they're asking for the coverage of the street closure to be basically taken up by the city. And so ultimately that would cut the cost hypothetically of the city. We would do it one time that day, breaking down, I guess, twice, because we would move a couple things after this event took place to change that street closure for the Liberty Arts event. But without further ado, to answer questions about what the Kids Block Party entails, I will ask Chris Taylor to join me up here.
Thank you.
Good
Council.
evening.
My name is Chris Taylor, owner of Shop Serendipity, and also Art Among Us, which is a fiscal sponsorship of the Siskiyou County Arts Council. And I'm also putting on the Kids Block Party, which is an event that is free to the community. It is run by myself and volunteers. And so everything is free to the kids. It's based on all arts, crafts, activities, interaction, math, science, but they don't even know they're learning, so it's great. And music, all sorts of things like that. So if you have any questions for me? If you look at the flyer there, you'll see that's last year's photos, and you can see the amount of people that were there. Matt Bray went through it many times during the event last year and said there was never less than 1,000 people he counted at the event all day. So that's pretty successful, I think, for a community event. Do you have any questions?
Great, thank you. I will open up to the council for any questions or comments. Any questions, council, or comments from council? Councilman Baker?
And thank you for bringing this forward. And I know that it's been really successful and very popular in the past. And so I just have a couple of questions, I think for Mr. Ledbetter, actually. This would require setup. They want the streets closed at 6 a.m. So has Public Works been notified of this and they're okay with that?
Yeah, absolutely. We've kind of started a process of almost similar to the planning department's pre-application meeting that we would like to bolster that process, but ultimately currently Jasenia, the finance tech, handles these events. She works with the interested party, and then she works with whatever departments need to be notified. In this instance, specifically Ben Miller and Matt Bray for the street closure before it comes to city council. And then in this instance, Chris Taylor has opted to utilize our insurance and basically pay through that insurance. And so that has all been organized. Yes.
Thank you. That was my other question about the note on here about need the city insurance. And then I see that you're having no vendors.
That's correct. There will be food vendors, just because that's what you have during an event, but there are no sales of any sorts. This is an all hands-on fun event for kids. It's not a It's not a real, it's not a for-profit event at all.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilman Baker. Any other further questions, comments? Councilman Cake?
Just comment more than anything. It's love to see this coming back. So thank you so much for bringing it back. It's a huge opportunity for families to bring their kids and have a good time, and the kids have a good time. I know I'm gonna be looking forward to it since I have a new addition, our two-year-old that just turned 2 here. We got to enjoy the fair, which was fun. So now we get to enjoy this one. So we're looking forward to it. And I'm glad that you're gonna be combining the street closure. So that makes it really user friendly for everybody that whole day and evening for what's going on. So thank you so much for putting this on it again.
Thank you. And we will be working in cooperation with Liberty Arts for the Caltrans portion of it and everything. So it's kind of a win-win for all of us, actually.
Any other questions or comments by the council? Councilman Davis?
Well, Chris has been involved in several very positive events in our community. When I've been done sporting goods, she was wonderful. And can you kind of tell me, Chris, what area that you have this planned?
So it's all of Minor Street and Broadway, as far up as the city has engineered, which is up toward I always forget how to say it. How do you say it? Aaron for this business. Thank you. A pan. The Mexican shoe, candy and shoe store, Aaron Paredes. It's on Lane and
Okay.
Broadway.
All right. Thank you. Good luck.
Thanks.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Councilman McCoy. I don't have any other questions. I will open up to the public for any questions or comments from our public regarding the event known as the Kids Block Party 2023. All right. I will close public comment. The recommended city council action before you is the motion to adopt. I'm sorry. Yep. Okay. I thought I was off. Motion to adopt resolution 2023-33 of the Yreka City Council, City of Yreka, approving street closures and other requests for Art Among Us, a special event known as Kids Block Party 2023 on September 9th, 2023. What are the wishes of the council?
I would move that we adopt resolution 2023-33.
I have a motion from Councilman Davis. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Councilman Kague. I have a second from Councilman Kague. I will go for roll call. Councilman Kague,
Aye.
Councilman Davis,
Aye.
Councilman Baker,
Yes.
Pro Tem Councilman McCoy,
Aye.
and I, Mayor Middleton. The motion passes 5-0. Congratulations. All right, we move on to C, title. This is a special event known as the Divine Masterpiece. Kimberly Presley, on behalf of Liberty Arts, has submitted an attached request for permission to close a portion of West Minor Street on Saturday, September 29th, 2023, from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. for the special event known as the Divine Masterpiece. Mr. Ledbetter?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and Yreka City Council, Jason Ledbetter, City Manager for the City of Yreka. We're joined here this evening by Liberty Arts, and Kim Presley will be speaking on behalf of Liberty Arts tonight about the event that will happen right after the Kids Block Party, September 9, 2023, between 3 and 9 p.m. There is a request for the street closure that we discussed with the last item. This is, I believe these events all follow a different theme, and I'll let Kimberly discuss that at more detail. But I know that in the past, multiple artists have gotten together for these events, and there's generally a large showing of folks that show up to Liberty Arts to enjoy the art community that we have kind of bolstered with the prior administration, specifically Mr. Brian Meek when he was the city manager here. Bringing Liberty Arts, I guess, or the building itself into into being with the grant for the bathroom at Liberty Arts. So without further ado, I'm going to leave it to Kimberly to discuss this event.
Thank you. My name's Kimberly Presley. I'm a board member at Liberty Arts and also one of the organizers of the fashion show known as the Divine Masterpiece this year. It's a biennial event. This is the 6th, I believe, that we've had. The other two coordinators are Brian Meek and Sheila Masson. The event actually begins at 7 o'clock and should go to probably 8:15 or 8:30, depending on how many entries we have in the fashion show. Right now, it looks like we have 19. The deadline is the 17th, so we will know very soon how long it will be by that. It traditionally has been in the city plaza with the runway going the length of the plaza and seats, about 55, 60 seats. We charge for the front row, and row 3 and 2, 3 and 4 are $5, and then there's free standing room. We also have handicap seating available, and we always sell out. So people have asked for a way to get more people in the plaza, and it's impossible. Last year, we closed Broadway behind us, being aware of COVID spacing in our chair setup, plus more people wanted to come. So the idea was the model would walk through the plaza, down the alley stairs, and then back up Broadway. And it wasn't very successful. There was a lot of dead time for people who were looking at the runway, and the MCs trying to keep it going, talking about the dressing up. We can't see anything. And so we really thought that if we could figure out a way, which we have, to close Minor Street for the block in front of Liberty Arts, really just to access that space between the plaza and Bella Arts, so that we could put more seating there and then extend the runway into our front door so that they could come out and do that. So that's what our plan is. Turns out that Chris already has the streets closed for the kids' block party. Now, even though we're saying our events from 3 until 9, is that what it said? It's just for us to get chairs set up, get the runway squared away. Our models will do their run through, without their fancy clothes on. The theme, the Divine Masterpiece, had a call out to artists to be inspired by masterpieces of fine art. So Starry Night, you can imagine. We actually have someone who's doing that. And we've made rules that, no, you just can't paint the painting on the outfit. You have to be inspired. So like I said, we have about 20 entries right now. We expect this to be very popular. And any questions? Oh, wait, do I have that?
Thank you. I'll go to council for questions or comments for Mrs. Presley. Any questions or comments from council? Councilman Davis? You need to sit down and speak in your microphone, please.
Kim, you and Chris are on speaking terms?
Yes, we are.
Well, that's good, because you're going to work together on this same time.
We are. We're going to coordinate. Actually, her event, I shouldn't speak for her, I think is over around 3 o'clock. So you may speak to the city about reducing the street closure. We really just need the corner Broadway, or actually just the block in front of
We are aware, and that's the plan, is that we would, instead of removing the entire closure, we would come back through and condense it down to your needs
To
at
one block.
3 o'clock. Yeah.
We also have free seats. Not a lot. We will have 8 free seats out there. Plenty of standing room, which is traditionally what happens, is the sidewalks get filled and everybody stands. That couldn't get a seat, but maybe we'll have more people that can relax.
excuse me, I'm sorry. Since how we have a kids block party and your fashion show, is your fashion show dry?
You know, it hasn't been. We have wine available and we already have our permit from ABC for that. And the police department already has our permitting for that.
Okay, thank you.
Usually is how our openings are for the gallery.
But her event's gonna be over, Mr. Davis, at 2 o'clock. The kids' event ends at 2. Theirs doesn't start till 4 hours later. So yeah. For clarification. Any other council members for questions or comments for Mr. President?
I'll just comment again.
Okay, go ahead. Councilman Kay?
I just appreciate you putting on another show. Kim, you're so active in the community and the Arts Council has been so active and we just thank you for continuing to put on these events with everybody else. It's with the whole pandemic that's been went on in the past. It's so refreshing to have events going back on again. And you've been so active in the community and thank you so much. It's neat to bring some diversity to our community too. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Nice to hear. Thanks.
That's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Kay. Anybody else? Council members? No? No? I don't have any, just a comment. Yeah, I think it's great to have diverse events in our town and bring something, well, it's not new, I guess, 6 years, but fairly new to what has happened in the past in Yreka. So it's great to see something different and different cultures come out for events and just enjoy our downtown area. So thank you. With that, I will go to our public for any public comments regarding the event, the Divine Masterpiece. Okay, no question or comments for the public. So I'll close public comment and I will go to the recommended city council action before you is the motion to adopt resolution 23-34 approving street closures for Liberty Arts special event known as the Divine Masterpiece. What is the wishes of the council? Councilman McCoy?
So moved.
I have a motion from Councilman McCoy. Have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second from Councilman Kaeg. I will go to roll call. Councilman Kaeg.
Aye.
Councilman Davis.
Aye.
Councilman Baker.
Yes.
Councilman McCoy.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. So congratulations and hope you have a successful event. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're moving on to the exciting stuff here. Interesting stuff, I should say. Yeah, interesting stuff, I should say. Exciting is our events and everybody coming back to put events in our town. Good evening. All right, we are at item number D here, and this is our finance director, Emily Aldrich. Item D, this is titled the appropriations limit for the city of Yreka for fiscal year 2023-2024. Good evening.
And everybody left for the exciting.
I know for the exciting part, no one wants to
Yeah.
hear about.
Before you today is our setting our GAN limit. If you don't know what that is, it's the appropriation limit that we are allowed to budget the proceeds of taxes in the general government type. So you're gonna read these numbers and we're gonna get to passing the budget next. And you're gonna be like, that's not the same number. And that's okay, because this is just for our general tax percentage. I provided you how the calculation works per Article X. I'm sure that's a number, but I don't know what it is, to be honest. The California Constitution, I walk you through the whole, how it's calculated based off of our population, etc. Fiscal impacts, the GAN limit sets to restrict budgeting expenditures by subjecting an appropriations limit to no more than $22,520,293.
The city is budgeting 10,707,289 for expenditures that are subject to this appropriations limit. So as you can see, we are well below that and not in risk of exceeding that. We pass this before we can pass the budget because we have to make sure that we are under that limitation. Any questions?
Do you have any questions from the council? Councilman Davis?
When you're talking about the GAN limitations, I read up a little bit on that. And do we have to turn that limit, the difference between the 10 million and the 22 million back to the state?
No, we just have to prove to the state that we aren't exceeding our limit.
Okay.
Yeah, Councilman Baker.
I would just like to say, Ms. Aldridge, that this is the best explanation of GAN limitation that I have ever read. It's awesome. I really appreciated this. I was like, wow,
That's
it finally totally makes sense to me.
Mhm.
Retta was very, very helpful.
So thank you.
You're
Thank you for that.
Other council members? Questions? Okay. I'll go to the public for questions or comments. Okay. No questions or comments I will close public comment. So the recommended city council action is the motion to adopt resolution 23-35 of the city council of the city of Yreka setting forth the appropriations limit for the city of Yreka fiscal year 2023-2024. What are the wishes of the council? Councilman Baker?
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion for Councilman Baker. Do I have a second? I have a
I'll second it.
Second from Councilman Davis. I will go for roll call. Councilman Kaag.
Aye.
Councilman Davis.
Aye.
Councilman Baker.
Yes.
Pro Tem Councilman McCoy.
Aye.
And I, Mayor Middleton. Motion passes 5-0. E, the bilingual budget adoption for fiscal years ending June 30th, 2024, 2025.
Good evening, council.
And she's still with us. So I'm not going to say her name again. So this is all Emily Aldridge with us for a little bit.
Tonight, I bring you the biannual budget adoption for the fiscal years ending June 30th, 2024 and 2025. City staff is pleased to present the council with the biannual budget. The budget process this summer included a brief presentation on August 1st to the full council, followed by detailed review on August 3rd with the finance committee, as well as meeting with individual council members. Department heads have been involved in this process at a detailed level, developing departmental budgets and reports. With increasing costs for both salary and benefits, the city is remaining focused on the goals of fire resiliency, housing, water security, and fiscal resiliency. And this budget supports that. The present budget this evening is achievable, but does not include contingencies for equipment breakdowns, example, HVAC systems or a file server failure. Additional unforeseen events will require additional resources, which we have healthy reserves with that ability to do in case of an emergency. I provided the summary for both years in the staff report. The fiscal impact for the fiscal years ending June 30th, 2024. Revenues and transfers in of 33,558,219. Expenses and transfers out 37,762,350. Getting a little tongue tied. The budget for fiscal years ending June 30th, 2025. Revenue and transfers in of 25,751,133. And expenses and transfers out of 24,926,419. You have any questions?
All right. Thank you. Any questions or comments from our council? No. Councilman Davis?
Emily, I'm a little confused about California's budgeting system. Is it supposed to be a balanced budget? Like you estimate our revenues at 23 million and you spend 20, you've got a budget for 25 million, let's say. Can we do that legally?
We have reserves that we are estimating pulling from those reserves.
I understand they're just estimates.
Yes, they are just estimates. Nobody has a magic ball to see what's gonna happen. But we make our best estimates of the projects we want to complete. And then throughout the year, we evaluate that budget and make sure that we're still on target. Or if needs need to be made.
It's a process, working process all the time.
Exactly, always.
Well, you got your city administrator's salary. We can always get it down a little bit.
Thank you, Councilman Davis. Any other questions or comments by the council? Councilman Baker.
So again, I just want to thank you for all the budget preparation that you and city staff have gone through for the last several months. I'm assuming it's a really comprehensive budget. I enjoyed reading it. I'm serious, I did. Didn't you guys enjoy reading it? I actually did, because it is so well put together and the thought that's gone into it. I just really want to commend you as well as the city administrator, the assistant city administrator, all the department heads. I really appreciate this comprehensive budget package that's come together that does support the goals and objectives of the city. And I appreciate the time that you took with me at the finance committee meeting to answer my questions that I had. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Baker. Any other questions or comments for the council? All right. I just want to say thank you guys for your hard work as well. And there's a reason why some people do finance and do this and some people don't, because I kind of enjoyed it, but I appreciate the hard work you put in it. And the future that Yreka has, and just making sure our city runs great. And yeah, we just appreciate our staff and moving our city forward for bigger and better things. So thank you so much for being a part of the team and everybody over there. So thank you guys. I will go to the public for any public comment or question. All right. Okay. I will close public comment. The recommended city council action before you is the motion to adopt resolution 2023-36, city council of the city of Yreka adopting the biannual budget for fiscal years ending June 30th, 2024 and June 30th, 2025. What are the wishes of the council? Councilman McCoy?
So moved.
I have a motion from Councilman McCoy
I'll second that.
and a second from Councilman Davis. I'll go for roll call. What are the wishes of the council? Councilman Kaag?
Aye.
Councilman Davis?
Aye.
Councilman Baker?
Yes.
Pro Tem Councilman McCoy?
Aye.
And I, Mayor Middleton. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Are you next again? F. Okay, she's still with us. Jaguar Software Reb Remit Agreement. Jaguar Reb Remit Services will replace the city's current premise-based AQ2 remote deposit check clearing services for remote deposit of physical payments to the city. The Jaguar software, like the AQ2 system, continues to allow the city to operate an image scanner device to scan paper checks and or coupon/stubs, creating an image cash letter file to send to our bank. The software will continue to create an accounting Springbrook interface posting file, then transmit lies in this product's future of the web rebit capture system, where it is currently processed and archived on the city's servers. That was a long one. Spit it out. All right.
Emily Aldrich, Finance Director. Before you today, I have the Jaguar Web Remit Service Agreement, as Corey stated, or as Councilmember Middleton stated. It is replacing a antiquated system that we currently are housing on a physical server that is also going on its last leg. As you know, technology moves quickly, and I do believe it's a server from 2019. So it's one of the last items that's on that server. This is a cloud-based system, so it will all be in the cloud. It will all be housed there. There are initial fiscal impacts of $2,500, and then a monthly service fee of $560 a month, which annually totals $6,720. It's approximately a $2,000 to $3,000 increase from the AQ2 system, but it is currently included in the budget.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from our council? Councilman Baker?
Thank you. You're going from a physical server to the cloud.
Yes.
Talk to me about security.
So they have, and I believe it's listed here in the web agreement. I don't recall what it's called off the top of my head, but we ran the contract and the process through Network One, who is our IT support, to ensure the security, what security protocols we need to do differently, and all of those have been addressed in this contract. But they have, I believe, oh gosh, I want to say they have 1,000 or so other clients that use this same process all the time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Baker. Any other questions or comments by the council? Okay. I will close the councilman comments or questions. I will go to public. Any questions or comments regarding the system? Okay, I'll close public comment. The recommended city council action is a motion to authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Jaguar Software Remit Services Agreement. What are the wishes of the council?
So move.
Councilman Kaeg, I have a motion. Councilman Kaeg, do I have a second?
Seconded.
Thank you. I have a second from Councilman Pro Tem McCoy. Go for roll call. Councilman Kaeg?
Aye.
Councilman Davis?
Aye.
Councilman Baker?
Yes.
Pro Tem Councilman McCoy?
Aye.
And I, Mayor Middleton. All right, motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Emily.
Leaving?
Okay, this is City Manager Jason Ledbetter. This is G, title Cal OES Jumpstart Designation Applicants Agent Resolution of Non-State Agencies. The city was given a grant award notice on July 25th, 2023 for the Cal OES Jumpstart Resilience Officer position. Adopt Resolution 2023-37 allows the city to access $928,496 of grant funds for the resilient officer position.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Yreka City Council. I'm going to discuss this item real quickly. I've been notified by the two chiefs behind me. I just want to make it aware that there is a fire back over the ridge line back near Hamburg. It's exploded to roughly 4,000 acres. And there's some communities threatened and under evacuation order. So fitting that we're talking about the acceptance of this OES grant. And so I'm here before you tonight. As you know, you guys did approve the grant application for the resiliency officer. And so in order to accept the grant or to start billing back to the grant, there is a resolution in your packet that we need to have voted on and hopefully approved here. And we can start to expend the $928,000 that the grant offers us. We do have the position currently posted, and hopefully we'll be doing interviews as we receive applications for this position.
Thank you, Mr. Ledbetter. I will open up the council for questions or comments. No questions or comments from our council? All right, I will open up to public. All right, no public comments. I will go to the recommended city council actions, the motion to adopt resolution 2023-37 of the city council of the city of Yreka, state of California, designation applicants agent resolution for non-state agencies. What are the wishes of the council?
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion from Councilman Baker. Do I have a second?
A second.
And a second from Councilman Davis. I'll do roll call. Councilman Cake,
Aye.
Councilman Davis,
Aye.
Councilman Baker,
Yes.
Pro Tem Councilman McCoy.
Aye.
And I, Mayor Middleton. The motion passes 5-0. Thank you, guys. All right, this is our city manager staff reports. City manager and staff may make brief announcements and reports at this time. Mr. Ledbetter.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, Yreka City Council, Jason Ledbetter, City Manager, City of Yreka. This will be relatively brief. I attended the COC meeting on 8/2 at the County Behavioral Health Building. Worked with Assistant City Manager and the consulting service on the polling info that went out last week concerning the possible sales tax initiative. Staff will be bringing the soil removal contract forward at the 8/17 special meeting for the removal of the contaminated soil on the Foothill site. The focus on hazard mitigation, the fire hall and paid fire staff will be a large part of the coming 15 months. We continue to make great strides with our other 3 initiatives: housing, water, security, and revenue generation. Engineer and design for Ringy Pool RFP closes on 9/1, and we hope to receive multiple responses to move forward with the design and cost or true cost to bringing the community pool back to Ringy Park. I was on vacation last week between 8/6 and 8/12. And just for our I did attend the finance committee meeting on 8/3, but something as we talked about the budget and we talked about special events, I just wanted to remind the 2 council members that I was very intrigued with an idea there. And that idea was to possibly funnel the special events through the finance committee and then have a recommendation from the finance committee, because we are getting a lot of requests to waive fees. And then that way we can incorporate at least 2 council members with staff during finance committee meetings. We call those meetings, we just need 24-hour notice for the most part, generally, to call those special meetings. And then we could bring a recommendation forward on events to city council. We cannot approve events. City council is the body that approves events as per our Muni code based off of a number of factors. One of them specifically, this city council is the only body that can shut a street down. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ledbetter. I will go to council members for, all right. Oh, chief, he has staff, it was report. Sorry. No one told me you were going to come up tonight. So come on up. We're glad to see you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I'm happy to report in one sense that August 4th and August 9th were 2 ordinary days when you show up at work, and they turned out to be, rather interesting. We had 2 fires, one on each of those days. One was at the south end of town. It was a container fire, and was once we got to the scene, we determined that it was, pretty suspicious in nature, and got comments from the workers there at the business that they had a good idea who it was. So ended up making an arrest on that one, and that was like, super good effort from YPD. And I can't say enough about the CAL FIRE prevention officers. They're actually, certified sworn law enforcement. And he was all the way over in Butte Valley on another assignment. He came all the way. We had to wait for him, but came all the way in, helped us with our investigation. In fact, while we were there, I actually spotted the guy next door in a sealed off lot sitting in a pickup, and I saw a leg sticking out the door, and it was like called over the eyewitness, and I said, "Is that him?" It was. So it all fell together, which was amazing, because it's so hard to prove arson. In this case, he admitted to it. So that was a good one. And then on the 9th, we had a 1:30, I think like 1:30 in the morning call for a garbage can fire, and the was extinguished very quickly. And in the process of the YPD showing up, young lady surrendered herself to Officer Tygart and said that she started the fire. So those are 2 relatively easy capers that were solved, but it's also that we get them off the street for a time. First individual was already out, and the second one is I think they're trying to get the individual into some care facility where she can feel safer. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you and know that we're investigating all the fires, which is required, and we're making some headway on these. But the cooperation of both YPD and CAL FIRE law enforcement. So yeah, good to report that to you. Something positive in terms of, 'cause so many times we don't find them. So
Right.
if you have any other questions, otherwise I'll. leave
Any
it.
questions for the chief? No.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. I will go to council members for any reports for any meetings they had or anything. Councilman Davis, do you have anything for us tonight?
The Fire Safe Council has finished their weekly publications, and there's 4 after the group of papers that I gave you the other day. I have those, and I will duplicate them in our next regular session. I will distribute to you all. And they're pretty interesting, actually. You think about your home and the bushes you have around it, and it makes you pretty aware what you should plant and what you shouldn't. And the last part is mostly on how to get the heck out of town. They get in your car and go. Bring your dogs, papers, that stuff. But pretty interesting, I think.
Great. Thank you. Councilman Baker?
Thank you, Mayor Middleton. I attended the August 3rd Finance Committee meeting, and I felt like we had a really good discussion about a process, a potential process to bring events forward to the entire city council. And that came about because there were a couple of events that were kind of last minute that caused the city staff to have to hustle. One of the things that we discussed was just putting out to the community on a quarterly basis that we were accepting basically applications, I guess, for a lack of a better word, for events. And so that we would be doing it on a quarterly basis to facilitate better planning. And so I would really like to see the council move forward on that. If we could get some recommendations back from Mr. Ledbetter, I would appreciate that. I think that will be a real positive change for everybody. And then I attended the fair and worked in a nonprofit booth for 3 days, and that's always a lot of fun. And during that time, I had the opportunity. I met a member of the Anderson City Council, as well as a member of the Reading City Council. And we just had some a really good discussion, a robust discussion about the homeless issues and how those cities are dealing with certain things. And so I am actually going to pass along some contact information to you, Councilmember Keg, because there are some really good ideas that are flying around out there. Then Mr. Ledbetter, I really would like to thank you for your comprehensive report on the McKinney fire 1 year later. And I think that fire is going to be one of the things that we hold in our memory of where were you on that morning. I remember coming out of my house and looking up on the hill and seeing the fire, and it was a little bit intimidating. And there were some things that personally stood out for me for that fire. I'm not going to take a long time, I promise. But I was so impressed with the briefings that were held by all the agencies involved. That was the first time that I saw such cooperation between all these agencies. And I believe that was due to your involvement, honestly, Mr. Ledbetter. I'm just going to give you kudos for that. But it was really great for me to be able to tune into those briefings and just feel like I was getting some really good comprehensive information. So I appreciate that. And although, I just can't put together a comprehensive list of community volunteers. You know, our community as a whole came together and really supported each other. And I know that just within a matter of hours, there were shelters set up for people that had been evacuated, displaced by the fires. That takes a whole community effort to do that. And along with that, there were community organizations and nonprofits that came together to house the animals that were displaced. And I know that when I was evacuated, my 3 kitties went out to Montague to the was it SNP? I believe that hosted the cat shelter. That was a huge endeavor on their part, but they weren't the only ones. There were so many organizations that came together, and I wish I did have a list of all the names of those organizations, but I just want to give them a huge shout out and another thank you for the work that they've done. So, and then finally, I believe, also while I was at the fair, I had the opportunity to talk with a couple of members of the county's opioid task force. And I would really like to have them come and make a presentation to the council. They're doing some really good work. But this is a horrendous situation that not only affects our community, but actually our entire country. So I would like to see that happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Davis. I mean, Baker, sorry. I'm tired tonight. All right, I will go to Councilman Kaeg.
Awesome. Well, I want to talk about that fire too, the K fire. I remember exactly where I was at when I called Mr. Ledbetter up on top of Butcher Hill going for a run and watching that flume of smoke come rolling over the hill, and how our city staff, how our fire chief and our chief of police took control and got the situation and took the bull by the horns is what they did. And they did a great job. I mean, it was amazing. I got to witness that firsthand, and Jason was still a greenhorn at that point in time, but with the work of Chief Gilman and Chief Lemus, everything went great. I mean, it was the perfect handling of the situation. They did an awesome job. Evacuation was amazing. It was amazing. It really was. And I can't commend them enough. It was cool to be the mayor at that time. It was awesome to see those guys take control and make a bad situation and make it to where everybody was safe, and bringing in other law enforcement to keep citizens safe, their belongings safe too, was amazing. I mean, we had people from Oregon, I know about Shasta and all over the place, law enforcement from all over. So it was really cool to see that. So it was a blessing to have them take control and do that. But anyways, other thing is we had our COC meeting, Mr. Ledbetter was stating, where one of the discussions we're having is Shasta County basically has been not controlling, but heading all the COCs of the 7 counties in the North State. And basically that's not gonna happen anymore. So one of the discussions we're having is how we move forward as a county on what we need to do to make sure we ensure proper funding comes in, and how we move forward on administration, on handling the grants and everything else. So it's gonna be a tricky endeavor. We're not sure how we're going to do it yet. We're all working with the other counties. I had my point in time meeting today with the 7 counties of the North State, and that was the hot topic of how we're going to move forward with the point in time count. One of the discussions too is there's an off year, so every year you have to do basically the housed individuals for homelessness, but the unhoused individuals for homelessness you don't have to do every other year. So one of the discussions, or by the requirement of HUD. So that was one of the discussions we had of we're not going, if maybe that we won't be doing the unhoused count this year. But that's also going to be brought back in front of the COC as Siskiyou County COC, and find out what the board wants to do, if they want to do it or not. The hard part is, like I said, if they're if the Shasta County is not going to be heading it all up as far as doing the point in time count for the unhoused, then it would probably fall on our lap. So manpower that takes to oversee all of that. I mean, yeah, we did it locally, but there's another entity that oversees all the counts on all that. So it's a lot of work, and we have to see where that takes us to. Just trying to think whatever else. I like I said, enjoyed the fair this year. It was cool. I got to see the fair in the eyes of a 2-year-old, which was pretty fun, especially animals, the livestock and all the other animals out there. And it was pretty cool to see it in a different light. So he had a good time. It was nice and short. That was one thing. Because it was so hot. So it was kind of nice to get there early and got done early. But you know, in years past, I've always been either somebody there that's volunteered for whether it be the beer gardens or the doing my for the Collier. I've done it for the Collier. I've done it for my businesses and had booths out there. So this year was, I think, the first year in a long time that I actually went there for fun. So it was great. I enjoyed it. And I hope everybody else had a chance to enjoy it too. So I think that's it. So I'll shut up now.
All right. Thank Councilman King. Pro Tem Councilman McCoy.
I just want to let City Manager Jason Ledbetter know that I sincerely thank you and the rest of the staff in that office, along with code enforcement. I have had 4 or 5 people approach me just since Saturday on Bluebird. They are so ecstatic. And I've had 2 people approach me on State Street. They are equally ecstatic. I want to thank you for getting those areas that were not habitable cleaned up and starting to get them taken down. So there are a lot of people that are very, very happy with what you're doing.
Just to really quickly comment, I think that you can thank yourself, because I think the city council's directive for a code enforcement attorney has empowered Chief Gilman and Lieutenant Budin and Willow Martindale to move a lot quicker. So we thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Wilker, can I just make one more comment? I totally spaced it, please.
Okay.
Today
Councilman King.
they had up by behavioral health, they had a shower trailer there for the unhoused individuals, and they had a laundry trailer up there for the unhoused individuals. So that was a huge success. There was a number of individuals. They gave out clothing, they gave out water, they gave out a number of different things and stuff. So it was a huge success, and I know quite a few individuals were able to use that shower facility, and it's something that we're hoping to bring back on a regular basis too. So not just through the county, but us as a city too, that might be coming in front of us to be able to fund that too. So that was something that was a huge success. So I just wanted to share that. And one of the success stories that I've been telling about, you know, the one individual that's been working at my shop. Well, today he was up there talking to some of the unhoused individuals, and there was at least 2 or 3 of them that wanted to know how he has come from one spot to another. And one gal up there today actually signed herself up for a rehab program up on the hill. So it's taking time, but there's actually some success stories now that are starting to pop up. And that was huge. This gal had her son or daughter call her and say, "Hey, I want you back in my life." And so this gal got to talk to Mike, say that, but he's part of our COC. So talked to this individual, and he steered her to the behavioral health, and they got her on a rehab program. So that's huge success. So thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay.
I just had
Awesome.
to share that.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's great. Okay, I guess it's my turn. I don't have a whole lot. I as well volunteered for a nonprofit out at the fair, and it was quite busy then. Yeah, Friday night was really busy, and Saturday night was packed out there, and I think everybody was good to be back, and it was nice to see a lot of support as always from the community that went out and supported the the auction and the kids that put in so much effort for like over a year just to get their animals ready for the fair. I could not personally do it because watching these kids say goodbye to their animals as they load in the trailer, I couldn't do it. So I give them kudos of what they know happens and what they do to feed America, but I wouldn't be able to do it. So I give them a lot of credit. Those kids are hardworking and compassionate, but to see the community support, not only in our area, but I saw a lot of companies from Southern Oregon down here because they know that Siskiyou County, Yreka is, a bedroom community of Southern Oregon. So I saw a lot of shirts with different companies from Southern Oregon coming out to the auction for the buyers. So it's great to see the fair back after, they missed 2 out of the 6 years. So it was good to see them back, and got to see a lot of people I haven't seen in a while, meet some new people. So a lot of people talk to me about some of the city issues, of course. They're going to do that when they see me, and but I was happy to talk with them. Yes, last year's fire was crazy. I remember, as a council member, but I remember getting updates from Jason just regularly, and he was fairly new and thrown into this whole craziness of fire evacuating his city, having to notify us, but he did not, whether it be an email or a text, did not leave us out of any type of updates, and neither did Chief Gilman. Yeah, because I've never experienced anything like that, and I thought our town really stepped up and really was ahead of the game, and not wanting to see some of the devastation that happened at other cities. So I thank you guys. It's hard to believe it's been a year. Time has gone by really fast. Summer's gone by fast. I can't believe people are starting to think about school and whatnot. Yes, I've gotten a lot of compliments about because I have some people living in the neighborhood over by Bluebird and Dove, and I've been by there because I have a couple properties over there for business and for sale, and it's helped a lot. Boy, seeing that down is just incredible, and also State Street, and I'm glad the city council came together and we got the new attorney to move forward and work to really start cleaning up our town and making it look better, because yeah, that went on too long. But anyways, we're moving forward. One thing I would like Mr. Ledbetter and us all to start thinking about is, as we talk about our residential properties, is I've driven by a few of our commercial properties that are starting to look bad, and I would like us to explore a vacancy tax, or really going after some of these commercial buildings that have been sitting for a long time. When I meet with Mr. Ledbetter on Friday, I meet with him every Friday, as a lot of us do, or other days. I have a list of those properties that are just starting to have been vacant for a long time and are starting to just really look bad. And so I think we really need to consider going after them as well. I don't want to be the bad person here. I think we're going after all these properties, but driving through town and downtown and seeing some of these vacancies, weeds, just, it's, so I think we need to really think about some of those properties as well. With that said, I won't close. I'll go back to you. I'm finished, but
I
yeah.
want to be the second one on that to make sure that gets, because I know you need 2 council members to put it on the agenda, but I agree with him. We've been talking about it, something that's been brought up by some of our constituents, and we've talked about it, and so I'm the second council member to agree and ask for it to be put on there, and I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's good. Thank you. With that said, I am finished. I want to thank everybody for coming, and we get to have Chief Gilman come down. He's really shy with us.
So I just want to let you know now you're speaking about keeping up to date. This is Chief Gilman. So the fire is growing rapidly. They opened the evacuation center here in Yreka. So with our road construction we have, I just want everyone to be aware, if you start getting calls, we're going to have a fire camp here. I'm assuming we're already at, about 4,000 acres with evacuations coming to Yreka. So there's going to be fire camps probably at the fairgrounds and on Main Street. And we're going to have all the evacuees from downriver going up to housing. So just keep in mind that we might start seeing a huge influx of traffic and people. Just something for us all to be aware of when we get calls. You know, I'm not gonna report a fire from the Jerry can, but there's a river in between, the Scott River Road is. Yeah, I think we're a lot better off than we were last year, but last year we went from
Yeah.
50 acres to 30,000 overnight, and this one went to 4,000 in the last 5 hours, so. It's, I just thought we should be aware that they have open evacuation center, and there's probably gonna be fire camps coming anytime the next day or two.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Gilman. All right, not the news we wanted to hear. We're going pretty good this summer, and but as we know, it's just getting started, and we know the storms were coming this August, and so everybody be safe out there. And thank you so much, everybody. Have a good evening. Meeting adjourned.
Sorry.
Okay, no problem.
The shower trailer. Can't believe I forgot that.
We have a 1:30 tomorrow in Red Oak.